Hey everyone, so since it's National Safety Month, there is a super crucial topic we need to dive into today, and that's the incredibly vital role our first responders play in emergencies involving autistic individuals. We're going to be looking really closely at some amazing work from Upstate Carolina Autism Associates to understand how just being informed can literally change outcomes on the ground. Now, think about this for a second. What if one small communication change could completely shift an emergency outcome? It's a pretty powerful thought, isn't it? It turns out making tiny, targeted shifts in how we approach and interact with people in crisis doesn't just improve the situation, it can literally save lives. Okay, let's dive into our structured agenda for this explainer. We're going to cover the emergency environment, behavior is communication, the nervous system, practical safety strategies, and finally, bridging the community. Jumping right into Section 1, the emergency environment, chaos and the senses. I want you to picture the sheer, overwhelming nature of a typical emergency scene. We're talking blaring sirens, flashing lights, crowds of people, competing voices, rapid-fire instructions, and, unfamiliar physical touch. Even for a neurotypical person, this is intensely stressful. But for an autistic individual, these sensory inputs stack up instantly, like a tidal wave, completely overwhelming their nervous system before a first responder even has the chance to say hello. And this right here is where we need a massive shift in perspective. What we've traditionally labeled as someone being non-compliant or defiant is very often a harsh biological reality. We're talking about severe sensory overload, a shutdown response, or delayed language processing. What looks for all the world like intentional resistance is actually just a profound biological reaction to a completely overwhelming environment. Moving on to Section 2, behavior is communication. What are we really seeing? When we stop looking at actions as just behavior and start seeing them as valuable data, it changes absolutely everything. Every single action we observe out in the field is a form of communication, telling us what's happening inside that person's body. Upstate Carolina Autism Associates puts it so perfectly. Autism is not a behavior problem to control. Autism is a neurotype. Recognizing this specific neurotype is the absolute key to compassionate, effective emergency interactions. We aren't trying to control a problem here. We're accommodating a neurotype in distress. So, what does this actually look like when you're out there? Well, signs of nervous system activation include pacing or repeating phrases, completely avoiding eye contact, covering the ears, freezing up, attempting to flee the scene, or just shutting down verbally. If you're a first responder and you see these, it's absolutely critical to recognize them for what they are, a cry for safety, not someone trying to give you a hard time. And this brilliantly illustrates the difference. The myth is that the individual is intentionally refusing to cooperate, but the reality, it's pure nervous system overwhelm and fear. Truly understanding this distinction is the exact thing that reduces escalation and vastly improves safety for every single person on the scene. That brings us to Section 3, the nervous system, the science of overwhelm. Understanding the underlying biology here is going to unlock vastly better response tactics for us. Okay, let's talk biology for a second. The key concept here is polyvagal informed care. Basically, this is a framework recognizing that behavior is deeply connected to whether an individual's nervous system feels safe or if it feels like it's in imminent danger. So the crucial takeaway is this. When someone's nervous system detects massive danger, like the chaos of an emergency, their biological ability to process language, follow directions, and regulate their emotions just drops off a cliff. And this ties right into executive functioning. These are your everyday cognitive skills, task shifting, regulating your emotions, using your working memory. During a crisis, the demands on these skills just skyrocket. For an autistic person, their executive functioning can get totally overloaded, kind of like a computer crashing when it has too many tabs open. They simply cannot process complex or rapid instructions in that moment. Because of that overload, we've got to pivot. Instead of firing off rapid questions, try short, simple phrases. You are safe. I am here to help. Or one step at a time. These simple, direct phrases are an immediate, practical way to help support and regulate a totally overwhelmed nervous system. Let's get practical. Section 4, Practical Safety Strategies, the on-the-ground toolkit. All of this builds into a clear, 5-step playbook for de-escalation. First, reduce sensory overload. Second, use clear, concrete language. Third, allow extra processing time.
Fourth, recognize nonverbal shutdowns. And fifth, collaborate with caregivers. Let's break a few of these down right now.
Step 1 is reducing that sensory input. If the safety of the scene allows for it, lower your voices, limit the crowd standing around, turn off those bright strobe lights, decrease competing noise, and please avoid unnecessary touch. Doing this alone has a massive immediate impact on emotional regulation. Now for step 2, using clear language. We really need to abandon vague phrases. Telling someone to calm down is super abstract, and honestly, it usually backfires. Actually, scratch that, it almost always backfires. Instead, try concrete, action-oriented phrases like, take one breath, or stand beside me. These give an overloaded brain a manageable, processing-friendly direction it can actually follow. And touching on step 4, recognizing shutdowns, it is vital to remember that not all distress looks loud. Some autistic individuals become completely quiet, totally frozen, or even temporarily lose their ability to speak. A silent shutdown is absolutely not a refusal to cooperate. It's the ultimate reflection of total nervous system overload. Wrapping up with Section 5, bridging the community, safety is a shared responsibility. Because at the end of the day, safety isn't just up to the single responder who arrives on the scene, it extends to all of us. I absolutely love this quote. It beautifully encapsulates the core philosophy presented by Upstate Carolina Autism Associates. Safety begins with understanding. This really should be the guiding principle for EMS, fire departments, police, schools, and families alike. And Upstate Carolina Autism Associates is literally putting this into practice by bridging care, connection, and community across places like Easley, Greenville, Pickens County, and Anderson, South Carolina. Through their neuroaffirming support and their NeuroConnect initiatives, they're actively working to educate and create safer, way more inclusive spaces across the whole region. So if you're a family member, a professional, or a first responder watching this and you're seeking education or support, you can tap into these awesome resources by texting or calling 864-835-8409 or just by visiting upstatecarolinaautismassociates.com. To wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final provocative question. How will you change your response in the next emergency? Taking these autism-informed tools and applying them in the real world is how we actually make our communities safer for everyone. Thanks so much for joining me today, and keep learning.